Hi, sorry about that, but welcome to Chapter 2. We're looking at Project Management Information Technology Context. Now, I'm taking this from the MindTap textbook, so I think the links to MindTap should be working, so that way if things change, you'll have the latest and greatest information. So what we're going to try to do in this chapter is define some systems, at least system view of project management and how it applies to IT projects. Look at the different types of organizations, how they're structured, and then look at some stakeholder management. Because like I said, this is really the first chapter that gets into one of the 10 sections that we're looking to study. So looking at doing a stakeholder management and top management, distinguish between project and product life cycles, look at unique attributes and what makes IT projects unique. Look at recent trends in IT project management, globalization, outsourcing, virtual teams, agile project management, or at least agile development. Try to manage the agile development. For those of you in the software realm, you may have gotten some exposure to agile project management. So, systems view of project management. Projects must operate in a broad organizational environment. So, working years of AT&T and with Weinig, all the projects I managed dealt with across multiple company disciplines, whether it's from purchasing to development to testing, implementation, installation. You needed to think about the entire system. So it isn't that I'm looking to project management, not just looking at one aspect. Did I get this block of code written? It's looking at the whole system. Not only did the developer develop the code, but did he deliver to the system tester? Did the tester get it into the integrator? Did the integrator get it to the installation teams? Because it really boils down to, from the project standpoint, did the whole project, not just one piece, did the whole project get implemented on time? Now, the systems approach probably started emerging back in the 50s to try to come up with some way of analyzing and managing problem-solving systems. Now, there's three major parts to this systems approach. One is the philosophy, then it's the analysis, then it's the management. The philosophy is a model of thinking about things or things that you're doing or developing as a system. The systems analogy is kind of like, I need to look at how am I going to solve my problems. It's kind of a more of a problem-solving approach. And then the management is, now how do I address the business, both technical and organizational, to make changes to my IT systems? Now, here you kind of see those three spheres in the system management, business, organization, and technology. Now, just to give you a rough idea, it's like here, okay, if I wanted to allow tablets in school, what is the cost to the college to have everybody have a tablet? Does it cost the student anything? What would be the support cost? Will enrollment increase or decrease? If it increases, now I got to buy more tablets. From a technical standpoint is, what technology, what type of Android? Is it an Apple, Microsoft, Android, Google, MacBook? What applications are we going to only allow or support? Are there hardware specifications? So they're looking more of the physical end of it, how's it going? And the organization says, well, it affects students, but it says, are there some majors that don't require it? Will the projects affect students? What happens if you already have a tablet or a laptop? Are there going to be special applications that need to be developed? So the organization kind of has it. So each different aspect of your system has different questions and different answers. And the project manager is looking to solve all of those. Now, for young professionals like you all are, it's difficult to understand the different technologies organizations use. I mean, how can you begin to understand business and organizational aspects? You hear, make it a priority. Well, making a priority doesn't always focus on the technology. Even though that may be exciting, it's just not, the only thing that a developer or an IT person needs. We need to understand different aspects. I need to understand what purchasing does and what marketing does, what installation does, so you can see the bigger picture. When you get your first job, you want to tell your boss that you want to understand how the entire organization works, because then you see how your small piece fits into all of that. And then, of course, you got to network with all the people in your organization, both inside and outside your organization, in the career you're looking for. So you want to make sure you're part of LinkedIn. You want to make sure you're signing up to any associations or groups that may support either the business you're in, the industry you're in, or the skill that you're trying to develop. Now, understanding the organizations. Now, systems approach, it requires a project management to view projects in a larger scope. Just like I said, not just did you turn your piece of code in on time. But organization issues probably end up being the hardest part of the job. I mean, it was easy to tell the developer, hey, did you finish your 1,000 lines of code by Friday? That's easy. But now it's making sure that the sales team is selling what I'm developing, is purchasing, getting everything I need. It's all these other organizational issues. Is HR going to give you enough people? Is accounting going to give you a big enough budget? Those end up being bigger issues than anything else. So it's important for project managers to better understand people, because each one of these organizations that you're trying to interface with all have people in front of them. So it's as much a personal interface, and how do I deal with people? How do I get people to do what I want them to do? So making sure you understand what that is and how to deal with people is crucial. Now, there are 4 frames to an organization. There's a structure, there are human resources, there's political, and there's symbolic. Each one of those a project manager needs to kind of keep in the back of their mind as they're dealing with either a person or going into a meeting, saying, okay, who's going to be in the meeting? What organizations? Are there any politics I need to worry about? Are there any cultural or language things I need to deal with to make sure that I don't violate or alienate people? Now, there's plenty of areas that things go wrong. Here you got, there's a paper called Study of Project Failure, and they researched like 214 IT projects. And research found that 1 in 8, 12.5%, were only considered successful as far as meeting scope of the project, time, and finishing cost. 12.5%. Of course, the authors then went on to say that the culture in many organizations was often the blame. So it wasn't the technology, it wasn't the skill level of the developers, the skill level of the project manager. It was the culture that they were in, trying to, maybe get change into the organization. Other things that went wrong is people did not discuss who needed to know, who was going to lead the project, who has a stake in this project, what are the risks that I'm managing. Maybe you didn't understand all the risks and you just kind of ignored some. Now, organizational structure, there are basically 3 types of structure. There's a functional, and basically means I've got a group of organizations. So I've got engineers reporting to an engineering manager. I've got developers, software developers reporting to a software development manager. I've got a testing manager, I got an integration manager. Each one of these functional managers are based on a function of the project. They're reporting to a different manager, reporting to a CEO. There is a project structure where the project managers report directly to the CEO and all the functions report into the project manager. And then there's kind of a matrix management where it's kind of a middle ground between I got my functional lines reporting to the CEO, and then across those functions, you've got a project manager who then reports to the CEO, but also to across each one of the functional lines, which basically means everybody has two or more bosses in this process. So just give you a rough idea, and as you can tell, functional, I got a VP of engineering, VP of manufacturing, and everything reports up to that organization. Of course, what does that mean? If I got a problem between these two, who answers the question? Who handles the issue? It's got to go all the way to the top. Project says, hey, I got project A and all the people required there. Project B, all the people required there. And then the matrix where you got program manager, staff, project manager. So you kind of see everybody's got multiple bosses to get that resolved. Now, from an organization cultural standpoint, a culture set by shared assumptions, values, and behaviors. That how an organization react. Many experts think that underlying causes for a lot of problems are structural and staff. So it's not the structure of the organization. I don't care which of the three you want to find. You can make every structure work. The people are skilled, talented, want to do a good job. But then it's the culture that causes more problems than not. Now, there are multiple characteristics of our organization. Here are 10. But as you can tell here, there's about, out of these 10, there are probably 6 that require 6 or 7 that most successful projects have, are strong in those areas. The member have an identity. The group has emphasis on a project. Their unit is integrated. They understand the risk that they're all into. The reward is known. They know how to deal with conflict, and so on. And then they're looking, also said, I'm not building my own. I'm going to buy somebody else's work with this open focus. Whoops. Can't remember. I just did this. Now, project manager needs to make sure he focuses on the stakeholder. Who's got a stake? Who's got a say in what gets done? So the project manager must identify, understand, and work those relationships, manage those relationships of all the stakeholders. Projects I've been on that I was told who the stakeholders were, but maybe not told of everybody. So all of a sudden, a problem occurs later because somebody felt slighted because they weren't included in the major decisions, even though they had a major stake in the project. You can use any of the 4 frames of an organization to help meet needs and expectation, but it really boils down to I need to make sure I've got senior management buy-in so everybody understands how that is. It's so how crucial it is that you start doing a project. You got to make sure that senior management buys into this is the right project to do. And we'll cover a whole lot more of this in chapter 13. Now, basically just giving you a quick snapshot. In 2014 football season, Microsoft paid $400 million to be part of a 5-year deal to use their Surface Office tablets to the NFL. All 32 teams were involved. The deal was renewed for a 6-year in 2017. Was it a smooth transition? During week 1, at least 2 announcers mistakenly referred to the tablets as iPad, giving an Apple unexpected exposure, which probably made everybody happy, Microsoft really happy. And also, Microsoft had to defend its use of tablets after the New England Patriots chose not to use them. So it's making sure that people buy into what's going on. So importance of top management commitment. Now, we're still talking about the system of the thing. So I got to make sure that these top management are always key stakeholders. They may not come to all your meetings, but they want to make sure they're informed. So I need to make sure the project manager needs to make sure that they now understand the level of commitment and support they have from top management. Just because the manager says, yep, go ahead and do the project, if they really don't buy into it and really won't consistently tell that message to anybody that asks them, it becomes a problem. Because without that top management position, projects are going to fail. Now, some projects have senior management called a champion. Sometimes they'll say, hey, you're vice president, you're going to make sure, you're going to ramrod this, you're going to make sure that this project gets done, you're going to champion this thing. So just something to keep in mind. Now, some of the more reasons is, because top management can help project managers. They can provide adequate resources. They can make sure that any needs to be done to make sure the time schedules are met can be done. They can make sure priorities are set, budgets are set. They can help mentor and coach during, if there's happen to be leadership issues. Now, some of the best practices for this is you need to make sure that your project addresses who's got the authority and control of the activities, including infrastructure use, project management. Without that IT governing part, can be dangerous. There's well-publicized project failures in Australia. Customer relationship management system, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology problem, one-tailed billing system. And that's just Australia. Pick a country, pick a state. There are examples of people not having total buy-in and causing problems. So I need to have organization commitment. I need to have, if the organization has a negative attitude towards the IT department or the project is being done, it's going to be hard to succeed. If the chief information officer, you need to have one to help organize this. Plus, what's that chief information? He's part of that upper level senior management team. So if he's driving this thing, if he's championing this project, have a high probability of success. You want to make sure that you got some non-IT projects to help encourage. I want to make sure I've got some users involved, especially if it's an internal project. I want to make sure I got enough voices into this to make sure things happen. Now, there are definitions or definitely a need for standards. What does a company value? How are my budget? How is my timeline? What tools am I going to use? How am I going to report this stuff? How am I going to record it? All of these things become standards that every project manager can lean on. And if he happens to leave, the next guy can pick it up and he knows where all the data is. So there's definitely a need for those kind of organization standards. Now there's also project and product life cycles. Every product goes from design to death, some way. So you need to make sure that it's good practice to divide projects into several phases. One, you can help mitigate budget problems, but it also helps you understand the system, maybe deal with some of the uncertainties, and it kind of helps. So now the project life cycle is just a collection of project phases that defines what's going to get done, what's going to get delivered, who's going to do it, how's it going to get managed. And then that deliverable is a product or service that goes on to either the project or to the next organization, just knowing that sometime there's somebody going to get something you're doing. Now, some of the early phases in a project life cycles, I may not need a lot of resources, and the uncertainty and risk is probably the highest. And I need to make sure all the stakeholders, they have the most influence at that time. In the middle of a project, maybe my certainty of project completion improves a little bit, but I also need more resources. So that make sure I got the people budget, make sure I got the HR buy-in, all that stuff comes into play in that middle phase. And then the final phase, You want to make sure I validated, okay, did I meet all the expectations, milestones that we asked for? Did the product deliver what it was supposed to? Emphasizing, the sponsors say, yep, I buy into it. This project is done. It isn't just one person's decision. It's all my stakeholders buying into that this project's done. Now, there are different types of lifestyle. There is a systems development life cycle, and it's a framework describing the different phases of an information system. So this system development can be from a predictive, so I can predict what the life cycle is going to be. Maybe it's an iterative or incremental, adaptive, hybrid. All of these are different types of life cycle. The predictive life cycle is more of a waterfall. There's 3 or 4 different types there, but waterfall is probably back in the 60s and 70s. It had well-defined stages. It was very linear. You couldn't go from one step to the other without passing through certain constraints, sign-offs, permissions. The spiral model showed that the software was developed using an iterative. So I'm making small changes a little bit at a time, and it's kind of in a big circle. It isn't straightforward, so I can be doing other aspects of the project all at the same time, but there's still a sequence to it. Prototyping, sometimes the user doesn't know what requirements they need, so they says, okay, let me just create a sample, a working sample, to make sure that the user, before we go too far down the path, the user can agree that that's kind of what we're doing. And then sometimes you got this rapid application development. I just need to put systems out quickly without, of course, you hope to not sacrifice any quality. So just give you a rough idea. Your waterfall, analyze, design, construction, test, support. Each one of the very structured steps have to have sign off before I can go to the next stage. But if analysis delays, guess what else happens? Design waits, construction waits, everything waits, and the whole project slides out. Where the spiral model says, hey, I've got the same major steps. I'm going to design it. I'm going to analyze it, design it, implement it, test it. And you just kind of slowly go through each of these steps until you get to your final stage. And each one gets more and more incorporated. Now, you got to be careful that projects have phases, but management wants to review things as the project's going through. Now, to successfully go from one phase to the next, you need to have some management reviews, called phase exit, gates reviews. Some company use kill points. Hey, if I don't get a management buy point at this point, I'm killing this project. But you need to understand as a project manager, what are these checkpoints? What are these management reviews? And you really can't wait till the end of the project to make sure you've got all those inputs. Otherwise, you're going to deliver something you didn't want or somebody that not going to pay for. Now, there are some examples of things going right. You got Edison had a couple of quotes, and I'll let you read that. But some organizations use executive steering committees to help keep projects on track. Some projects can go on a long time before being killed. Blizzard's Titan game project, they go on a long time. Sometimes you get organizations that can work. So just know there are projects out there that follow good processes. Now, people need to understand the context of projects. Project context it can be a critical impact to the life cycle, and will be probably most effective for a particular software development project. There are several issues unique to the IT environment than there is in anything else, because IT projects tend to be very diverse in size, complexity, what they're producing, where they're going to be applied, what resource requirements. Sometimes the nature is, because of the diverseness, I can't really predict when it's going to be done. And also realize that based on the different industry and business function, it also has an impact on IT projects. Now, project team members, they all got different diverse backgrounds, skill sets. You could have somebody from a system designer to a coder to a documentation, a tech, writer, a trainer. All those skills are necessary for the product, but not necessarily everybody's got the same skills. Now, there are some projects that require just a few functions. Some require everything. So it's just a matter of just knowing that each project, the project manager's got to assess the skills that are the talent's going to be required to do it, and enlist the right people to do the job. Now, because of the diverseness of it, the technology's changed so rapidly. That's a big issue. Differences between technology can make communication between professionals even challenging because they don't always understand, what they knew 2 years ago is different today. So it's hard to communicate when I've got a different framework. So the project manager's got to keep everybody on the same playing field. New technologies, how fast is new technology coming out? Always coming out super fast. Now, some recent trends going on in technology. One is globalization. I don't have all the resources in-house to do the job, so I'm going to go to outside companies. I want to outsource my work to someplace else. Maybe I'll have a virtual team. A team is basically a group of people who work across time and space just using the technology we have today, whether it's Skype, whether it's the internet, whatever the case may be. And another technique we're going to talk about is agile project management. And that's just a different type of project management that keeps everything on a shorter scale or a shorter time frame as they're developing the project. Now, with globalization, what are some issues? Well, communication. How do I communicate with somebody in France, somebody in Germany? You got time zones issues, you got language difference. How much do I trust them? Are they doing work the same way I want it done? What tools are they using? Now, what can we do to try to help globalization work? I got to employ a greater project discipline. The project manager got to make sure I'm following set procedures correctly. I got to think globally, but act locally. Considering collaboration over standardized. Don't set all the rules, but make sure everybody buys into what we're doing for this project. And then just keep the momentum going. So now outsourcing, it helps you to remain competitive by taking advantage of other companies to be able to do the work, other countries to do your work, and maybe ways of paying somebody $10 an hour versus $20 an hour to get a job done. Now, sometimes based on which countries you're dealing with, it can be unpopular. So you need to make sure that project managers need to understand how do we go global and local procurement issues. How do I get outsourcing talent? How do I vet them? How do I know that they're good? Now, another option is virtual teams. Again, I can lower the cost. Maybe I can provide more expertise and flexibility because I get a very responsive. And maybe it'll help improve the work-life balance for the team members because now I'm working from home. I can use the technology. I don't need to, based on where you live, I don't have to travel 2 hours in, 2 hours back. So it's just a way of maybe making that happen. Okay. Disadvantage. Well, you're working by yourself. You may feel a little isolated. Maybe I can't communicate with people at the time I want to. I'm working at 4 a.m. and they're not coming in until noon. Maybe the ability to transfer information to other members. Of course, it forces me to rely on the technology to send an email, post it on a server, and expect people to look at it and get the information done. So there's tons of factors that help virtual teams to become successful. Now, agile development, basically agile means what? Move quickly and easily. It's a software development of projects that often uses a waterfall, the early projects management, all of us pretty much use in my early days, we all used the waterfall approach. Every had fixed milestone. Granted, I was working for a very large company, so budget staffing was done at certain intervals, so the waterfall was perfect. Well, today, companies moving faster. They need to move faster. Technology is changing. Customer demands are changing. So agile development allows to, a different approach when requirements and solutions kind of evolve through a collaboration of all the team members that include a customer representative. Now, this all started back in early 2001 with a manifesto written by 17 people that talked about what the process was, what they thought would be a better project management, quicker, better development environment. One is, get out of here. So the key points were we got covering better ways to develop a software by doing it and helping others do it. So they value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and response to change versus over, following a plan. So it's very free-flowing, working with the customer and, trying to get things done as quickly as possible. It's an interesting manifesto. It's not that long, but it's interesting. Now, one of the things here, techniques, is similar to agile development. It's Scrum. Scrum is a leading agile development method. It was coined back in 1986 by Harvard Business Review, and it uses some high-performing cross-functional teams similar to like a rugby team, because a scrum, you see those guys piled in the middle of trying to get the ball. That's kind of where they're at. So the process of this is kind of a 4-step process, and I'll let you go through this. But basically, I'm defining the product. The team goes back and says, okay, what am I going to do? Create, I got a full product backlog. Over the next 2 weeks, what do we think we do? What are the most important things we need to do in the next 2 weeks? And then just quickly develop all that stuff, meeting daily to communicate all the issues and problems that are going on, and then potentially ship the product at the end. Otherwise, continue back to the front, look at what other things be done. Now, Kanban is a Japanese one in conjunction with Scrum, developed by Japan by the Toyota Motor Company. But it basically uses visual cues to guide the workflow. New work in progress, work completed. And then the project management body of knowledge guide describes some of the best practices. Agile is a methodology that describes how to manage project. The PMI Institute recognizes the interest in PMI and actually put together a Agile certification program. And seasoned project manager need to understand that technique works. So in this chapter, you've kind of talked about the systems approach, different organization structure, implications on project management, what phases, life cycles projects go through, what things project managers need to consider, and kind of recent trends and everything else. So hopefully this gives you a quick and dirty, half hour, whether that's quick, because it's up to you. But I hope this helps understand the chapter. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.